Okay, here we go. This is the final part of Bayonetta. This is the last thing that we have to do in the game, is just show off the final extras. The Unburnt Tears of Blood thing just takes you back to showing off the achievements. Because obviously the achievements cover in-game, well, in save file and just across the system, so that's where they are as well. And also we have this. So yes, here we have the world of Bayonetta, which has got lots and lots of stuff in it. We have lots of concept art, which we are going to look at now. So you've got the initial design of Bayonetta, and there's lots of these. I mean, they're not even showing all of the designs that they did, because there were absolutely loads. I mean, it's great that they're showing us off as much concept art as they are in the game. But even that there's so much more, and it's like, that's why I can't wait until I can get my hands on the Eyes of Bayonetta, which is the art book, because art books are always glorious. Now, I recall when I did this, the last time, it was a slightly painful experience. Largely because there's just so much stuff here, it's ridiculous. Either way, hopefully this is going to be a bit less painful. Largely because I think I have got more that I can say about this game. Surprisingly. Now, here you are going to be able to see, so you've got the costume proposals for things, and you'll also be able to see kind of stuff that was cut, which is quite cool. At least I think you can see some of the things that were cut. Not quite sure what was going on with Cerese's design there. It's a bit puffy, I guess is the best way of describing it. Which I think one thing that a lot of people kind of go on about is that Bayonetta's proportions seem a bit off, because she's obviously very elongated. But, I mean, there are actually women out there like that. And also I've seen art styles where the characters are even longer. I mean, the main thing that I can think of that's like that is Triple X Holic, which is the manga and anime that's by Clamp. Because all of the characters in that have got ridiculously long limbs. They're very, very slender, and it's very kind of ridiculous, really. So there are kind of art styles out there where characters are more elongated than even Bayonetta is, so keep that in mind next time you say Bayonetta's not in proportion. Also, when you had the showing off the demons in the concept art, you could just see on the one with Gamora on it, his hand. Don't know whether I mentioned this, but the original design he's basically like a little Tyrannosaurus Rex, essentially. But because he didn't look intimidating enough, it was kind of just like, oh, that's cute. They decided to just cut off, just have the head. Obviously, come Bayonetta 2, they are actually showing off the entire body of Gamora, T-Rex arms included. and that's just quite awesome. That kind of even then the design for everything is kind of still evolving. Also, those missiles are awesome, particularly the propulsion system, because I think Kamiya-san said that it's new, innovative way of propelling things. Looks like it's not doing much, but it is, apparently. And also it's what powers the rocket. And there's the satellite that I was talking about with the System 16D Sumparon satellite. So you've got to see it in some fashion, just not in gameplay, and I do apologise for that. And in terms of concept art, last but not least, we've got all of the weapons. So we've got the Scarborough Fair, the All for One, the Onyx Roses, Sharaba, Glushadra, who you can see here was red, and the Durga, and so on and so forth. Now, I have to say, I really do kind of love seeing all of the concept art, because it's always really nice just to see kind of how games were put together, and I'm just always really interested by it. And there's the fish that was removed, as well as the bird cage and the blender, which I did mention. But yeah, it's just very nice to see all this kind of extra detail, because it's not something that you generally, well, you get to see it if you get art books and whatever, but a lot of the time you don't get it. So it's just nice to have this in the game for you to look at. Although I'm still quite happily getting the art book and everything. So we also have very nice 3D models of everything in the game. Although for some reason I don't think I could get my hands on Sirius Shan. Oh well. But what's quite cool is that you can tell kind of the models that they put a lot of effort into, because you can zoom up a lot closer on the ones that they put a lot of effort into. When you have a look at the other human characters, you will see that you can't really you can't zoom in that much because they're not very detailed. But considering how little you see those characters, it's not really a problem. But I do like Bayonetta's serious mode. It was just quite cool. Although I would say that it'd probably have been cooler if she'd had the sleeves and the hair as well. That would have been quite epic. I mean, just the sheer variety in the different costumes that they made for Bayonetta as well is just quite cool. And the tutu and the feathers, that's going on the whole Swan Lake thing. And with Durga, the funny thing is that kind of, if you spin whilst you have, well, so you have different sets of the Durga, so fire and lightning, and depending on which, so if you have the fire Durga on your hands, then your horns are red, and the blue Durga on your feet, then the tail's blue, and vice versa, which is just quite awesome. I think one of the main requests, or one of the frequent requests that I think Platinum Games are getting for Bayonetta 2 is for kind of an original Bayonetta's original costume to be a costume, alternate costume in Bayonetta 2, which is a nice idea. Especially because it looks like Bayonetta's outfit and, well, design in Bayonetta 2 has been a bit divisive with her new haircut and everything. And also because I think a few people have been complaining that she's not showing off as much skin as Bayo does in this game. In which case they are actually wrong. Less cleavage, yes. She's not showing off as much cleavage. But you've got all the diamonds down the back of her leg, which technically equates to there being more skin on show. So yeah. What's also quite cool is that the music that they picked in this bit is all kind of tailored to the character that you're looking at. So when you look at Bayonetta, it's Mysterious Destiny. When you look at Jean, it's either Red or Black or Blood and Darkness. Can't quite remember because they are very similar tunes. I think it's Red and Black. Also, look at baby Jean, she's so adorable! And also you can tell that Jean was brought up better than Bayonetta. Now this is probably one of the more awesome outfits that Jean has, because there's a whole kind of sub-story behind it. Because basically the idea is that in the time when Jean's not doing her whole Umbran Witch thing, she's a school teacher, and then she transforms into the magnificent Cootie J to come and save the day. I don't know whether that provided some of the inspiration for Kamiya-san's latest game, The Wonderful 101, because when this extra gets released, The Wonderful 101 should be out. Yeah, this is kind of... I'm being prepared, well, at least I have been prepared for summer this time, because in previous summers I've been trying to record whenever I got the chance, and it never quite worked out successfully. So you've had a nice constant stream of videos throughout summer, which is always nice. Also, oh, I love this Cereza music. Ah! Also, Luca is awesome. He may be a bit of a sleazebag sometimes, but his heart's in the right place. Also, here you can see kind of, if you look at the Bayonetta child model, and Cereza, you'll see that Cereza doesn't have the beauty mark. So, I think a few people are kind of like, what's going on with that? But, you don't really know, well, you don't notice it in the game because the model's too small, of child Bayonetta for you to notice. Also, I really do like kind of the duality of Rodin's outfit, because you've got kind of the two halves. It's kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, almost. Also, what's really funny is that Enzo is the only character who is animated in his 3D model, which I find really funny. I don't know why I find it funny, I just do. Now this is the point where you'll notice that you can't zoom in that much, and that's because they really didn't put that much effort into the faces in particular of these characters. Which is not surprising because you don't see them. I mean, the people in Vigrid, you see them in mostly through Paradiso, so you don't even see them at all. You do, however, get a nice close-up of her because she was in a cutscene, and therefore needed to be important. But all the others, you barely see at all, and when you do see them, you see them from far off, so it's not really a problem. It's just, I mean, it's nice that they included them, the models, in here, because otherwise it'd be a bit odd. Also, it's quite cool that the men have the gap on one side and the women have the gap on the other, and that's just an interesting little detail. Now, what's more interesting is when you kind of start having a look at all of these, because especially when you get to the bat and the moth, because even when they have transformed into their different forms, apart from Crow, it seems, the pocket watch is still visible. Might just be Crow, actually, but I can't spot it. Also, I really do like the Lynx form. Oh no, it's... Oh, okay, I know where they are. It's on just on their back. But so even when they're in the battle moth form, they've still got that pocket watch. It's still close to their hearts, which is just quite a nice little detail. And now we have all of the angels. And there are a lot of them. I mean, it's pretty much going to be here where I think a lot of people will have been able to read the angelic script in the halos and so on. Well, I didn't actually realise that those fat blowhorn angels were affinities. Largely because they look more like a different variant. They look they don't really look like affinities, but then they don't really look like applauds either. So I never really quite knew what they were, but they're affinities, apparently. Also, it's in here that you are able to see the definitive grace, glory, gracious, glorious, and which one's which. Because it does separate them. Because obviously they are two separate models, so they both get their own little time in the sun. Also, I think that Beloved model's quite cool. Also, this is where I found out about the Beloved being the things in the Space Harrier stage. Because I was just like, I've not seen that model anywhere in the game. Where is it? And it's just like, wait, the shippy things I thought were ships that just kind of flipped. Yeah, they were Beloved. I feel rather embarrassed that I didn't notice that at all. But these things happen, so, yeah. Now, I've always found kind of the Fairness and Fearless's halo quite interesting, because even though they've got halos on their legs and tail, that kind of slightly more techno-y halo on their head is just quite an interesting design, really. Also, I really don't like the crow form of golem, or the centipede, millipede version one. It's just evil. Well, it's just evil to dodge. So, yes, so Grace is the fire one, Glory is the lightning one, and then when it's Gracious and Glorious, they swap. So, Gracious is the lightning one, and Glorious is the fire one. Just to make it awkward in remembering what they're named. Now I'd say as much as kind of the harmonies and inspired and so on, even kind of the kinships and ironics, kind of, well, not even the ironics, even though some of the angels annoyed me, it was just quite cool, kind of, the designs were always quite cool. With the ironic, it's quite cool that the wheels are the halos. It's just quite awesome. Also, it would have been quite cool to have had a version of Joy with the sword, maybe. But can't get everything. Also, I don't think they included the models for the loyalties. I think that's what they're called, which are the missiles with faces, essentially. Either way, the models for the bosses are, as you can probably tell, huge, and you can get up really close to them, which is particularly helpful if you're wanting to read Sapientia's text. Although you can't get up that close with Temperantia, even though in-game you get up even closer because you're actually standing on him. But what can you do? The fact that kind of they've got all of the models in here is just great anyway. Also, it's here where you will actually be able to tell the different emotions that the faces on Eosisha have got, because one, I believe, is called Euphoria. One of the others is Despair, and I can't remember what the other one is. But they all have a different name, which is just quite cool. Also, Sapientia's text is kind of... can't quite get the small print read, which is slightly sucky. But, I mean, you can get pretty damn close. Especially because, I mean, the big stuff is legible, if you know what you're looking for in the angelic font. Also, I do love kind of how Boulder's peacock angelic angel-y wing things kind of flow around as you spin. It's just quite awesome little touch. Also, with all the clone versions of the cardinal virtues, all of them have got this green tone to them. Don't quite know why, but I guess it kind of does link them all together, and because if they're all clones, then they're going to have some kind of similar constructive pattern. Also, here you can kind of see that Jubileus does have some similarities in her construction to Bayonetta, but she has got a kind of very young look to her, which I think is where they got the whole texting emoticon happy Jubileus from, which is just, I still find hilarious. Also, Rodan is still pretty damn impressive in his angelic form. And last but not least on our 3D model look, we've got the Infernal Demon stuff. Now, pretty much kind of the Madama 6 and the Madama Butterfly variants are very similar. It's just that one's black, one's black and purple, the other's red and white, essentially. Also, the Madama Butterfly ones tend to have a bit of pink in there as well as the purple. And obviously sometimes a bit of gold and everything, because they are all kind of Bayonetta's colours, so they have to be there really. Though I am surprised that there's not more red on the Infernal Demons, because that's probably more her colour than purple and pink, although those are Madama Butterfly's colours. So, they're going more for Madama Butterfly than Bayonetta, I think. So yes, this is pretty much the last you're going to see of Bayonetta. Because, well, at least of the original game from me. And I don't think I'll ever kind of show off my runs of the hard non-stop infinite climax difficulty modes, because I think I don't want this added pressure of having to record them. But I definitely want to do a commentary of Bayonetta 2 someday, when that's eventually out. Because I'm sure, and I really hope that I love it as much as I love this game. Because it's just so much... Bayonetta is just so much fun. And I'm so glad that it exists. And with this last little look at the King of the Little Devil, Zero, who is a terrible character to play as, do not touch him if you can help it. We only have two little things left to look at in the world of Bayonetta. The sound jukebox, which is, as you would guess, a sound jukebox. So basically you can listen to all of the songs in the game, all with their, who composed them, and the official titles. I hope that I got most of them right, although basically kind of, I think because on the soundtrack, because it's all in Japanese, things are different. Like as you can see, I think it said Luca's Wild Idea, whereas the translation that kind of has been given to the soundtrack was Luca's Delusion, and so on. But still, you're probably more likely to find the songs on YouTube via the titles that I was giving, I think. Also, here's where you can see all of the different variants of the Afterburner song, as I was saying. There are you can hear all of them in the game. And it's just quite awesome that this is here as well. So as I said, the only thing that is missing from the package of Bayonetta is a theatre mode, or at least a theatre option in the world of Bayonetta. But considering how much they stuffed into this game, I'm sure I can make do. Anyway, I will leave you with this wonderfully silly and brilliant music video for Let's Dance Boys. I hope you have all enjoyed watching the Bayonetta walkthrough, and I hope you all join me for the next playthrough and walkthrough, which will be starting very soon. Watch Bayonetta dance away. See you next time.